here we are. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stage. It's a great pleasure to have you all here. I'm Paola Bertola, professor at Politecnico di Milano, and I had the great honor to be the scientific coordinator of the DeFINE project throughout a long journey that we're celebrating with this showcase week. I'm also very happy to start the panel session with a key topic that we will be addressing during this hour, that is focused on the relationship between technology and sustainability in fashion. And the question is, how can we harness technology to make the fashion industry more sustainable? And we will address it with very special guests. First of all, I'm truly happy to have a panel made of only women, because we think that the link between women and tech, it's truly important to drive actually technology towards more sustainable paradigms. So I will just shortly introduce you who they are. So we have Aliki Goritsa, which is the co-founder of Peppervally's and Knitwear Innovation. She's one of the great entrepreneurs that have been mentored throughout the DeFINE project, and she's a textile engineer by education, and she's been actually working since years on finding new solutions within this specific field to use technology to make products which are more durable, sustainable, and interesting for the customers and the market. And then we have Giusy, Cannone, again a great entrepreneur. She's the CIO of Fashion Technology Accelerator. Actually, this is the first accelerators globally that was specifically created to support startup businesses within the fashion tech sector. And she's, of course, a future anticipator for this perspective that she had several years ago on considering fashion a promising field for technology to bring new ideas, new business model. Then we have with us Katie Baroun. She's the head of retail, trends, insights, and innovation for Stylus Media Group, and she's several years of experience within fashion business, and especially within this context of trends, insights, and innovation in looking into the future and anticipating it. So she's quite knowledgeable about the impacts and potential of technologies in this field. She's also a journalist, and she will bring us this look into future trends. And finally, we have Serena Moro, again, a women entrepreneur, which is beautiful to see, which actually approached directly the topic of sustainability and technology after an experience within fast fashion in terms of product development. And I guess her experience could be quite valuable to look into outdated business models and to think about new ideas for the fashion business. So this is the great panel that we have today. Just a few words about the topic, because I think that to start actually our panels sessions, which will be several, approaching the the theme of fashion and technology, already coupling it with sustainability, is an important choice for the DeFINE celebration. It is important because the question we address in this panel is not so obvious as the fact that technology can be an enabler for sustainability is not so obvious. Probably it is for us, but it's not being so, and it's still a very polarized context that we're facing, where there are also positions that look into technologies as the cause, the reason why we have the issue of sustainability. While, of course, we also do have positions and people who thinks that technology can be the solution. Certainly, we've been living in a world since the Industrial Revolution started, where, in fact, technology has been producing deleterious effect on the environment, in social communities, in terms of cultural impoverishment. We do know that fashion is the second polluting industry in the world, and certainly it is the industrialized fashion and the one approaching technologies in the beginning that has been producing those effects. So certainly this is the background, but we also know which are the potentials of technologies. And the question is, how can we embrace a new perspective where we really take the responsibility of driving technology towards goals, and I would say design-driven goals that are pursuing sustainability as a major challenge for our future. So I really do not think that the problem is technology, but the problem is us and how we drive technology towards the goals that we want to pursue. And we are not pushed by technology only to see which are the potential applications without any purpose-driven motivation. So I think that we are approaching for these controversial visions that we have in the contemporary context, a very relevant topic. And I also think that approaching this merge between technology and sustainability within the fashion field is particularly important, because fashion is part of cultural and creative industries. The cultural dimension of European industries is a really unique aspect of the evolution of the European system. Culture and creativity is what is distinguishing our identity and have been created our identity and lifestyle. And fashion is still an important bridge between arts and humanities and industries and technologies. So I think that particularly in fashion, having these I would say humanities-driven approach, we can bring in fresher and new ideas and new ways of looking into technologies. So this is a very short introduction of large scenarios that we are facing, and I would like to maybe start to break the ice of this discussion with a first question, which is addressing the issue that I was tackling just few minutes ago. So how do you see technology as an enabler in promoting fashion sustainability? Is it technology the problem or the solution? Maybe I will start with Katie, who's the futurist of the group.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you're very right in terms of saying that in many ways technology has caused problems. It's caused mass production. It's caused problems with huge, numbers of deliveries. The planetary price, if you like, is high. Thanks to technologies. But of course, the other side of this in terms of the solution is that we also now have technologies that fundamentally, and this is something that a lot of consumers really want, will allow us to be what you might say a better consumer, if you like. I think we're going to talk about this in a minute, but I think where we are right now, looking at where we are in terms of, coming out of, hopefully, fingers crossed, the pandemic, there has been an attitudinal shift that actually has seen a real uptick in terms of people wanting to do better and be better and create a better scenario for ourselves going forward. So there are many ways that we have potential solutions here. And I think we'll probably go into case studies later. But, we now have technology that will allow us, whether it's being able to design better, design things with much less waste, design things that can be repaired, that can be recycled, that can be transformed. That's on the product side. But in terms of also thinking about, communications with consumers and retail itself, we're also now seeing tools that allow people to have a much better, deeper, richer connection to the product itself, which is something that I think had really been lost. I think we'd got into a space where people had seen, products as sort of material goods, and there wasn't really that connection that would make people, that very critical understanding of where things are made, how things are made, how do you get rid of these things, what's the sustainable credentials of something versus something else. So now we're seeing technologies where we can actually, whether it's IoT-based technologies, blockchain-based technologies, even things that are more simple than that, even things using, AR technologies, or ecosystems like digital wardrobing, where you can connect to lots of other services. We are now seeing technology enabling people to see what they're buying, what they've got in their wardrobes, the provenance of something, how you take care of something, even how, end of life for a product, how you get rid of something, and in real time. So all of a sudden we have these kind of tools that basically allowing any of us to have much more visibility on the way that we behave and what we're doing with the items that we own and what we're doing with the planet. So I think, so for me, I guess the big kind of takeaway from this is that understanding of technology as an enabler in terms of consciousness, our kind of, let's call it our consumption consciousness. And that's something we've really been missing before. People have been, and I think, we must also point out that sustainability for a lot of people and consumers, but also brands, is a really tricky territory. People are very, very unsure of what makes a good choice. Do I buy this? And, it's created in a certain way, but what if I can't get rid of it? Actually, it may have used X amount of water to create this thing, but then will it have some other kind of, damaging ramifications somewhere else down the supply chain? So that sense of being able to witness what we
I've lost the connection. I don't know if it's only me.
Yes, I don't.
We can hear you, but we cannot hear Katie.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe we can move to another panelist and then go back to Katie when she'll be connected again. Giusy, do you have some insights on this topic? So is it a problem or an enabler for a founder of a fashion technology accelerator? I think that this is crucial too.
Yeah. No, thanks, Paola. Well, I think that the world is. In the world history, there is plenty of cases where we have seen technology as a problem or a solution. I think that technology is neutral as science, so there is not a intention that technology has per se. Of course, is the design when we create application of the technology that we can bring a positive or negative difference. And in some cases, this is also not done with the specific intention. Let's think about the blockchain that was also mentioned by Katie before. So there was a big, there has been and there is still a big, passion somehow related to the blockchain as an enabler for more transparent supply chain. But lately, we have started thinking that blockchain is a technology that is consuming such a massive amount of energy, which is cannot be considered absolutely sustainable in all senses. So, of course, when we introduce a technology in the market, in particular, if we want to use this technology for to create a more sustainable approach, of course, we have to take a holistic overview of the solution itself. So in general, I think that technology can bring a lot of solutions to the problem of sustainability, which is a huge problem. And as we all know, there are so many aspects to take into consideration. For sure, I mean, we can say that the society had in mind the, that the fashion industry was creating many problems, maybe not at a massive level, but I mean, the entrepreneurs that wanted to solve these kind of issues had few tools to provide solutions. So, I mean, some years ago, we didn't have the ability to produce maybe like tailor-made production with zero waste, with on-demand manufacturing. This was possible, but only at a very small scale. Today, we have the possibility to produce, to have a personalized production at mass and a scalable level. So, of course, today with technology, several intentions that we had to be more sustainable could be applied and could be solved because technology as an enabler is there. So no, for sure, I'm very positive about it. But of course, as you said also at the beginning, we should consider the technology as a mean and design for specific application that can make the solution sustainable.
Thanks, Giusy. Serena, you jumped into fashion tech sustainability after experiences fast fashion. So which is your perspective on this topic?
Yes, so I'm perfectly aligned with the Paola, Giusy, and Kelly said, because I see technology as a tool, and you can use it in different ways. And you can use it well, you can use it in a bad way. And I think like to make technology as an enabler and not as an obstacle, I think it's important to start from the issue that you want to solve. So which is the issue that you're trying to solve, and is technology the way to solve it, and how it can be solved in the best way with technology. So that's the first thing, starting from the problem. And then second, like considering also the impact of the technology itself that you're using, and understanding if the net balance is positive. And in this, technology helps us actually, because if you think about LCAs, if you think about calculating emissions, I mean, you need technology to do it. So of course, technology is not only like so much embedded in our culture that you cannot eliminate it, but it's also like important to understand the impact of technology itself. So I think it's necessary. It's a tool. So in general, I see like technology as really a vehicle, while sustainability is the road that we need to take to reach an objective, which is well-being. And with this vehicle, you can be way faster in this road, but you should take the road, not take another road. So on the one hand, you need the car, the electric car, the vehicle to do the path. You need to know where you are going. You need to know your objective, but you also need like clear signals or which is the best road. So in this sense, you don't need you need on the one hand good intentions as a person who is using technology, but you also need like a clear direction from institutions, from governments, from researchers, from people who are competent in sustainability, so that they can help also innovators in terms of technology in making the right path.
Aliki, I'm very curious to hear about your perspective, because you are somehow a woman in science, which is already a step towards overcoming some boundaries and outdated perspectives. So which is your opinion on the topic?
Yes, thank you, Paola. Actually, they covered all issues, but as a summarize, I would like to add that technology is actually the tool the tool to make a lot of things, and add also the transparency feature. This is a very important feature, because we mainly use sustainability as a marketing tool, not actually as an ethos, because I believe this is the main issue here, is using sustainability by changing your everyday, not only doing things, but also your everyday choices. So technology can help us to add more transparency, not only when I'm going to buy something, but how is made, how is made, where is the, how is made the raw material, how we find it, how what it means to produce with natural materials, synthetics, what it means, this, how it is made. I believe this is something that is missing from make it accessible to all people. So I believe technology will play a crucial role also to this field, to engage people with the production phase, because if you understand how it's made, you can be more conscious when you buy something, and judge with a better point of view if it is actually sustainable, and if the company actually cares for this issue, or it is a more kind of a marketing tool.
Absolutely.
So this is what I add to the already very good points concerning this.
Thanks, Aliki. Thanks for introducing, as already Kate did, this idea of changing our everyday attitude, which is really the key of transformation. So do you think that actually the pandemic somehow pushed to better address sustainability? It certainly changed a lot our everyday life. And is there, do you see any reason why it did help to better link the two concepts of sustainability and technology and digitization?
Yeah, shall I jump in?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things here. I think there's a macro kind of aspect to this, that even, a number of people actually started looking at reports about the relationship between, a lack of biodiversity, emerging and emerging diseases. And so people actually started to kind of actually, I guess, take a very long, hard look about what we're doing to the planet and the greater effect that is having. And people actually had to, forcibly had to stop and consider this. So that actual link between, the situation that we're in ecologically, and how we feel about sustainability and the choices that we have to make moving forward, that absolutely played a huge role in this. But I also think, it was time when people started thinking about, consumers, particularly actually not necessarily luxury consumers, but just high street consumers, started to think about, what do I need? What do I have in my wardrobe? Do I know what I have in my wardrobe? It's not a coincidence that we've seen a huge uptick in rental concepts and retail and resales concepts in the last year as well, where people really started to think about their own habits towards consumption. Can I sell on what I've got? Do I really need what I've got? So I think there's a number of things there. And I think also, actually, it's interesting, consumer psychologists will say that one of the ideas of within a pandemic, you will have these different levels of contagion, they call it. And one of those is a sort of sense of empathy and kindness, and that kind of greater sense of awareness. Of course, you only have that for a certain amount of time during or after a pandemic. So now is really the chance for brands and technologists to harness it. But the idea is that kind of level of concern, that level of sort of self-awareness is much greater. So it's actually a point where people have really, their mentality has shifted a lot in terms of, as I said at the beginning, how can I do better, be better? That sense of wanting to create a more kind of wholesome future that we're moving into. And of course, all the discussions about sustainability and the climate crisis were raging before we went into the pandemic, but the pandemic has certainly heightened this in everybody's minds.
Thanks, Katie. Is there anyone who wants to add?
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, if I can add something, is that definitely also the pandemic has definitely stopped the entire society to think at which are the essential values, and that with fashion, in many cases this is not the usual question that we used to ask, but also the concept of luxury today is more related to like well-being, like being close to the most important values. So these are that definitely shifted the mindset on one side. So when we talk about sustainability, the conviction that we don't have to buy every day something or every week just for the sake of it is definitely something that is I think is the main reason, the main driver to change our approach towards fashion, to make the fashion industry more sustainable. Because we can, our technologies can invent all the technological sustainable textiles, but if we continue to buy something and use it just for days, technology cannot really solve everything. So we need to start from this point. Then, for what related to what you asked about the connection between if the pandemic has pushed somehow the connection between sustainability and technology, I think that what happened mostly is that corporates are adopting technology and digital technology more easily, because in some cases they felt forced to adopt it because it was the only option. So this has probably lowered the barriers and the resistance towards adopting new technology. So this is helping also technology towards sustainability.
Thanks, Giusy. So you were addressing, as Katie, this idea of a change of mindset. Somehow the pandemic woke us up to a reality that we weren't really analyzing well. So I would like to know from two young entrepreneurs if you see in your generation a different mindset in terms of cultural change. So not only from the consumer side, but also from the entrepreneur side. You are here, so I see this change. And there's a question from the audience that you may be able to address. So they ask what training should be obtained for addressing sustainability within the fashion tech ecosystem.
May I start?
Sure,
I really see every new business or every entrepreneur now is also including sustainability in their business. So I think in general, entrepreneurs have an attention to sustainability, and also younger audiences, because it's not always the case, but sometimes also entrepreneurs are younger generations that don't want to work in the classic corporate world. So I see an attention. Then I think that the main difference is between who wants to create a new business, or in general want to reach an objective and tries to reach it sustainably as possible, and those who are trying to solve an environmental or social issue. So I think that's the main difference.
Absolutely.
And we need a lot of the second.
So that take sustainability as an opportunity, not only as a requirement that you have to, of course, incorporate in your business, because now this is the goal, but it is also an opportunity, as CIKIS actually is considering, because you can also tell to the audience which was your entrepreneurial idea in the fashion tech world.
Sure. So, what we do is that we help fashion companies transform their business in a sustainable way. So we work with fashion brands who have been active for years and years, and now they want to address their business model in a sustainable way. So there's like, you go step by step, of course, because it's a change. You need to change really your mindset, and you need to make steps, but you can really like start from your products and then really changing your business model and understanding how it can work sustainably. And we have actually a lot of also innovations in this sense in many startups, changing the business model of selling new clothes, in shifting to rental and shifting to other business models. So yes, I think it's very important that also what I see is also that companies that have like younger generations inside them are active in sustainability, because maybe, I don't know, there's the son or the daughter of the owner of the company who pushes towards sustainability. So I think younger generations have a role in this. What I think is also that sometimes younger generations are also quite frustrated because they don't feel they have so much power to change, because still, like, of course, you need to deal with policies. You need to deal with a slower way of acting to the one we are used to. And to this, I would like to also answer your previous question about pandemic, because like what we see is, for example, that after the crisis in 2008, like emissions have jumped because of economic policies to stimulate the economy. And in December 2020, emissions were higher than in 2019. So I think that's a very important thing that we should be aware of. And I think that the important is that policies to stimulate the economy are also made to stimulate it in a sustainable way. Otherwise, like pandemic wouldn't have told us anything, And there's really there's an article that I really, really liked, which says we should stop seeing sustainability and climate action as the target. Our target is our well-being, and we should see climate action as an enabler of our well-being. Because if you see it as a target, it can be an opposite target to economic growth, for example. If you see it as an enabler, you cannot have well-being, so you cannot have growth without climate action. And in this way, I think things can change.
Absolutely.
I'd love to jump in briefly if it's possible, because I think it's very interesting, this idea of talking about, is it a requirement or opportunity? And of course, it's both. And I think if we think about this as an opportunity, as an imperative, especially if you're a brand that has younger consumers, then of course the kind of value of thinking it via that lens, the lens of opportunity, is that it will sort of stimulate competition. And of course, that will always raise the game for these kinds of innovation. But what I would like to go back to is, I think, again, it's very interesting, this idea of, Serena was talking about things moving on very quickly, though. We're in this pandemic space, and as I mentioned before, you do only have quite a small window in terms of people's mindsets. You have to sort of harness that as brands and kind of really leap into those spaces very quickly to make sure that those nudges and those changes are still going to kind of take flight, as it were. So that's just something I wanted to mention about that, really. Yeah.
Thank you, Katie.
I would like also to add something in this topic. In most of cases, people are seeing technology vs sustainability. For example, there are people that are tech freaks and people that are loving nature and natural products. And I see the solution on combining sustainability and technology as also design, because you cannot offer a solution without taking in mind the good things we have until now. For example, the natural resources, of course, with a way that we are not exhausting them, but secure that it is sustainable made and sustainable harvested. So I believe this is the combination of keeping the good things we have until now, like following nature, because actually nature is a source of an inspiring source, and use this inspiration through technology. For example, we can use natural materials and add technology, add machinery that is advanced, and to make, for example, products that are personalized, as earlier said also, and not over consume or produce products, but make products that have a meaning, make products that combine all features without losing the good things of the past and adding the good things that are coming through technology. So I believe a spherical view in what we do is very important, because if we use technology and create other problems in the future, it's not a solution. We have to address solutions that are sustainable in long term, and not just now for being trend, and that is sustainable is an issue. And the good thing with the pandemic, to answer also the previous question, is that forced in a way people to look deeper in how the products are made, or if, as said also before, if they actually need these products or what products they need, because they are kind of investor. When they buy a product, they invest to a solution. They show that they understand the effort that needed, the effort that the company does to keep this sustainability ethos. So I believe this is very important to understand the role they have, and having products and solutions, even digital solutions, that engage people, that make them maybe co-creators of the products, and keep this creation feeling active, because when people are feeling they are involving with something, they are feeling much better also to their everyday life. This also was another lesson from the pandemic. Creativity is a solution to keep you going. So a spherical view to what we do and what we buy is a solution also in long-term basis.
Thank you, Aliki. We jumped into the topic of which technologies, and we've seen several technologies emerging during the pandemic, and as Giusy pointed out, also many very established companies were pushed to adopt technologies because that was the only way to keep the business going. So which are the barriers that can really be overcame with technologies, with solutions that comes from technological innovations?
A barrier that I would really like, that I feel quite passionately about, is that I feel if we're really going to address this issue, it's going to need to be much more sustainable initiatives and innovations are going to need to be embedded into high street brands, into main street brands. At the moment, there's an enormous amount of discussion around the luxury industry, and obviously the luxury industry, to a certain extent, you have brands that desperately want those eco-credentials. They want to use that as a badge of honor, which is very valuable. And of course, if you have a trickle down, these types of technologies that can be used, in the more mainstream brands as well, that's critical. But realistically, we still, despite the fact there is that sort of sense that I think that affluence or a lack of affluence is a barrier for a lot of people. It's all very well sort of saying, I won't buy high street, or I won't do this. But actually, there's an enormous amount of people. And also, we often talk about young people as the kind of savior. And it is true that there is a very strong appetite for ecological behaviors. But nevertheless, if people can't afford to buy into the brands that are adopting those, we have an enormous problem. So I think for me, that's kind of one of the barriers that I'm really interested in. You know, I'm really interested in what Serena does as a business, because I think being able to, very often at sustainability conferences, it's really important, obviously, to have people, you know, whether it's Allbirds or Patagonia or whoever it is, talking about what they do. But actually, it's being able to go into those businesses, as Serena does, and work with those brands, you know, whether it's an ASOS or any of those brands, who we clearly know all of those brands will have, you know, sustainability on their whiteboards at the moment, trying to work out what to do with it. It's about going into those brands that didn't start with a B Corp mindset and now need to kind of retrofit to rework their business model, including things like, you know, and that with technology, I mean everything from, let's say, ASOS, virtual fit technologies. How do you stop 25% of clothes being returned? Using technologies potentially that actually means people can see what they wear. They don't order 6 things. They only perhaps have on-demand manufacturing, so they can see something on them and only order what they need. Going back to what Aliki talked about. Also, it's about using products that when things get returned, they get cleaned in a way that's much more using sort of sustainable cleaning methods that don't mean things have to go through an enormous amount of rounds of cleaning there or get ditched. It's about the packaging. It's about the way things are transported. It's about, there's a whole kind of gamut of things. It's about potentially having a digital ecosystem where you can plug into, after buying something, can you directly go to donate it somewhere else? Can you resell it? Can you have even content on your site that tells you how to adapt it? So I think from transport to packaging to brand communications to post-purchase opportunities, there's an enormous amount of things that need to be happening in a more mainstream sphere, as well as with these more affluent brands. So sorry, I kind of obviously it's a passion point of mine that I worry that these things stay in the upper echelons, sometimes in the sort of more elite premium businesses.
Absolutely, we need really to move this topic into the mainstream general discourse on fashion and into mainstream brands and organization to have a real impact. And this is a very realistic vision, but there are out there, as Katie was pointing out, technological solutions that actually now make it feasible. So it's more also a topic of barriers to change, resistance to change, than really having the solutions that actually are there. So there's a question from the audience that also addresses the topic that we've been touching on. How much value do you place on technology needing to be a key catalyst in changing human behavior for the better? So again, the perspective of consumers and us. How do we behave to increase this?
Yeah, no, if I can, actually, I just wanted to set another point on, which is everything is related, because it's always about, customers and technology. So I think that, considering the barrier, because I agree that there are several solutions, technological solutions, I think that the fashion industry is characterized by two important factors. One is that it has a very long and fragmented supply chains compared to other industry, and this makes things more complicated to change on one point. And on the other side, let's say from what concerns the R&D and the technology, this is not happening at the brands level, which are the ones that have the highest added value and the potential to do biggest investments. So as a result, the fashion industry invests less than 1% in research and development. So you can understand how it's also difficult for the technology to have a massive adoption, because they are not invested and pushed by the one that owns the highest percentage of the value in this industry. So suppliers typically, at least until a few probably years ago, they were competing on price, and which is absolutely not good. In other industry, competitors compete on technology. So I think that this is one of the main structural barriers that is, preventing fashion to, adopt a more sustainable approach faster than other industries. But on the other side, the advantage is that the fashion is very open. I mean, it's very close to people and society. So in this case, the society that can really push rather than, just the possibility for corporates to see an advantage in terms of new, more sustainable approach. So finally we have arrived at a point where society is going to play a big role, I think.
Yeah, and as to address the question from the audience, I think that it's already been a catalyst, because we've seen growing phenomena of fashion activism that wasn't there before, which was really supported by technologies, and in particular by networks and access to information. So certainly it is a catalyst. I would like to hear. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say that in answer to the audience question as well, I think I place a huge value on technology as a catalyst in terms of the kind of nudgeonomics, if you like. Because I think, and the other key barrier really is that we need to embed these innovations in things that impact us on a daily basis. So I think that capacity to be able to nudge people. So concepts like digital wardrobes, like Save Your Wardrobe, where actually, or we've seen it in food in the same way that we've seen it in fitness, things that remind us about what we're doing and how we can make something a little bit better, how we can make a slightly better choice. So I was just going to say, in that respect, for me, it's all about technologies that give us nudges, appropriate nudges at the right time for us personally. But sorry, I'll
Sure. No problem. Thanks for adding on. I would like to hear from Aliki, as we've spoken about overcoming barriers, which technological solution do you see as most promising for doing this shift?
Yes, I see, for example, that products can be also physical products, can be in the future not on just products, but also services to people, and use technology for this purpose. And also, as I said in the beginning, it's very important to engage people with the manufacturing process, because I have the impression that the people know a lot of things about the styling and the wardrobe, but not a lot of things about how it is made actually. Fashion and textiles is a business that needs a lot of human resources. This is a very big issue. This means we cannot push people to produce more in order to have the products we need, also the luxury products we need. This is a very important issue to address, to engage people with the manufacturing process and see how it is made, and respect people that make the products, the physical products, how we can do this using technology. For example, we can use VR to engage people with the manufacturing process. This is a very interesting idea to make it attractive also for young people, because young people see technology very attractive in terms of how it looks when I try a cloth, but it will be the same attractive for these people if you engage them with the manufacturing process using, for example, a video game or a game that could use also the hands, because craftsmanship is another important issue. How we engage people with the arts, with using their hands, using their body, because it is very interesting to be in the social media and using the digital media to buy something, but we are not learning something. Actually, we are not using our hands. This is something that will also make people to respect other people that making the products, but also respect also the manufacturing process, and engage with the manufacturing process, make it entertainment. than entertaining, because this is the way also to address the sustainability issue, because if they understand how it's made, they can respect more the resources. They can respect more how this product is becoming true, and use technology not only with a very common way, but also with an alternative way. And fashion has this creativity to do this beyond the traditional labels of making of using technology only for the digital sales department, but using technology for also making experiences and services through the textile physical product.
Thank you, Aliki. I would like also to hear Serena opinion on this, as you are, as Katie was saying, you're entering actually SMEs and companies that needs to go through this transition. So, what do you see, and which solutions do you see as valuable for them?
Yes, I think we've already talked about a lot of interesting solutions, like from technology to better design, like 3D for design, to have less scraps, or for example about transparency technology to increase transparency, because transparency helps you decrease asymmetry of information, because like consumers have less information than producers, and when you have asymmetry of information, you don't value the good things of the producer, so you tend to buy more based on price than, because you have less information. So transparency is key, and technology helps you with that. And then but I think also, like if you think about the fact that we need to really accelerate the abatement of emissions to reach the goals the climate goals as an industry, and actually like we need to accelerate the abatement of around 1.5 billion tons of CO2 emissions, and actually these 63% of these accelerated abatement can be done by using clean energy and efficient machinery, which is something that we already have on the market. Like, so on the one hand, we have emerging technologies, which are fundamental because you solve so many issues. For example, as I said, like waste reduction, etc. Recycling of materials, which is fundamental because we have so many textiles which are mixed. Like we mix fibers, so it's difficult to recycle them, and technology can help us with that. On the other hand, we need solar panels. So like there are also a technology which is widely like which exists on the market, and we should adopt it. And it's super important that we adopt also like technologies that we already have, because we really solve so many problems with them.
Thank you, Serena. I think that you touched on a topic that also Giusy was discussing. So the fashion industry has a problem of having a very long and fragmented supply chain, and only making all the nodes of the supply chain more efficient in terms of use of energy and resources would reduce the emission of more than 60%. So I think that this is certainly a fact that we should address. We have a moment for just last comment, if there's anyone that wants to add something, and then we need to close this session, unfortunately.
Yes, I would like
sure.
to add something very important. Also is in terms of technology ideas is, for example, programs that could detect from companies that all the data that are already provided through their website, if they are actually as they published or not. This is a very big opportunity I see in the future of digital technology and software, it is very important to have a kind of certification that actually what the company says that they do and what the suppliers and the companies are saying they are using as resources, as ethical methods. If it is something, a software maybe, that could confirm it is the one and the right data that are provided or not. This is also very important to have a validation in terms of a software that's coming this kind of information. This is very important for the transparency that we all mentioned. That is very important. I see a big potential in this in the future.
I think, interestingly, I think there's companies working on projects like that at the moment, like Provenance. I'm sure maybe many people listening will be aware of the project they did with Martina Svetlova. Again, this was a blockchain chase technology, and the idea is obviously you can track back through any number of things, but you can also almost view this as a consumer, right? The kind of information that normally only suppliers would see, or kind of internal business operations teams would see. So I think there are things like this. I definitely would want to make the comment. I mean, especially at the moment, it was made earlier actually, talking about NFTs and the blockchain and things like that. Obviously, very few people are really, everybody's so excited about NFTs and things like that, that nobody's really talking about the huge ecological energy guzzling, issue around that at the moment, because everybody wants to look at the sort of sexier side of it. So I did want to bring that up, but I do agree on the visibility and the transparency. There's another great project to look at that's I wanted to mention because it's very new, by Pangaea. So Pangaea, a really sort of fantastic team helming that actually, including Dr. Amanda Parks, who is a incredible sort of materials scientist and a new media scientist as well. She crosses many areas. And they've just created a set of digital passports. So a very, very simple tool where basically, IoT-based passports where you can just scan a care label and it will give you real-time information on all the things that they have in their kind of back end in their stash to do with, all their information on where that was made, how you make it, how you take care of it. Again, that kind of end of product life scenario. And that's, of course, at the moment, that isn't connected to resales or anything like that because they're only creating new product. But I know for a fact they're already thinking about that. Should they partner with a resales business? Should they do that themselves? So that's just a really, for anybody kind of listening and thinking, yeah, I do want to know about companies that are working on that. That's a company, Pangaea. Pangaea is working with E.ON, the Internet of Things business, on that. And Provenance is another one to look at. So there are definitely people making some headway in this space.
Thanks, Katy. I think there was a wonderful closing comment to the session, because it opens up our view onto innovative tracks for changing the industry. Just a final, I would say, very short sum up of what did emerge. Certainly, we need to change into two ways: to change on the perspective of consumers, the mindset, the attitudes. And technology can be certainly a catalyst and an enabler of this change, which is also change of value and a cultural change, and can have a role for driving the industry to its change, which is the second trajectory, the other side. So the industry needs to change, and in here we have been tackling a very important subject. On one side, the fact that the already established industry, the mainstream industry, should address the transition not as a badge, because now sustainability is a fancy topic, but in a more embedded way into changing the whole process. And the data that Giusy was providing, only the 100% is invested in research and development, is a data that should certainly change into the direction of investing more. And another important aspect relates to the newcomers to the industry that can look at sustainability as an opportunity, creating businesses that can help and support the transition of the mainstreams with new solutions, ideas, as also Katie was introducing just a minute ago. So in this direction, there are also new business models that are emerging, that are pushing towards, for example, servitization of fashion. So not anymore only a product-centered business, but a service-centered business. And certainly in general, transparency did emerge within this discussion as a key subject. So bringing all the system to be transparent, and this will drive actually both the change of consumers' behaviors and the industry itself. I would close saying that all of us, we agreed that the goal is not anymore pursuing a wealth growth, but more a cultural prosperity, which is totally different. We've learned this also through the pandemic, that we want to stay well, we want to incorporate some more profound values in our daily life, and certainly what we're speaking about is going in this direction. So thanks to all the panelists. It's been a great honor to have the chance to discuss this topic with you, and I will let the stage to the next event that will follow immediately. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.